Hi, I'm Syama Meagher, and I am the founder of Scaling Retail, co-founder of Curist, all-around fashion brand builder of brick and mortar and e-commerce platforms. I got into fashion e-commerce back in 2007. I was really fortunate enough to be offered a position at Barney's New York in their e-commerce division. And back at the time, not a lot of people were venturing into that space, so kind of consider myself really lucky. To be honest, growing up, I don't think I even ever thought e-commerce was something that I'd eventually be working in or getting into. I always knew that I'd be on the business side of fashion, and obviously brick and mortar was the only thing I really knew of. But as the technology started to become more and more evident and around us, and all these new brands were starting to try e-commerce, yes, it slowly became a dream, but certainly wasn't one that I had ever thought of in the beginning. I like to wake up at about 7 o'clock in the morning. I do about 30 minutes of meditation in the morning, and then, of course, all of my morning rituals. By the time I get on my first work call, which is usually about 10 a.m., I've already sat through and planned my day, done a little bit of personal reading, and I'm really focused and clear-headed. I think it's really one of the keys to being successful. Oh my God. My favorite pair of heels are my snakeskin Gucci's from 2010, and they're bright gold and they're caged, and I've had to get them resold like 3 times because they're so fabulous. Not unlike what you're seeing me wear today. It usually involves some combination of loafers, black jeans, and a silk button down. There are so many things that are important to look at. Most importantly, I'd say it's really important to think about what your budget is as a brand and then what your long-term goals are. My favorite things are, of course, how functional is the site as far as not only what you need today, but what it can be for you tomorrow, how quickly you can actually update and make changes to that site, and whether or not you need a coder to be holding your hand every day or every 3 months. If you're designing your own collection and you're on the maker side, you definitely need to have an MVP. Reason being is you really need to test market that product. You need to make sure before you start to invest thousands and thousands of dollars on the maker side into samples, production, and developing a collection, and then furthermore taking it to that really crucial e-commerce platform. If you're just launching a website and you're sourcing other brands and you're coming from the position of a retailer, you definitely don't need an MVP. It's all about going big, going for it, and really being first to market. Well, I guess if you look at me today, I look funded. But does anyone know what that really means? Well, essentially what that means is you look like you have it going on, right? I could be a homeless person, but you'd have no idea because I'm polished, put together, have the hair, the makeup, and the clothes. That's exactly what I mean from a website perspective. No one knows if you're bootlegging your site, no one knows if you have nothing in the bank, but if you can put it together to make a site that looks glossy, beautiful, has great images, then you're gonna look funded. Yikes, outsourcing. That's a sore subject, not only from personal experience, but from seeing others go through really bad experiences, but also really good ones. And the things that I think are the most important when it comes to outsourcing is to be really clear on what you want, be clear on how much money you want to spend, and get ready to pull your hair out a little bit. And at the end of the day, when you're working with someone whose time zone is 12 hours ahead of yours, the only person you have to blame is yourself. So it's really important to think about, can I handle a relationship like this? Am I ready to micromanage this? Do I need to be focusing on other things in my business? But at the end of the day, if you can't afford to do someone domestic to help build your site or to outsource work, then you have to get scrappy. So I'm a big believer in you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, I've seen people start to use Instagram in really, really amazing ways, not only from the Instagram platform, but also from a selling tool standpoint on their own websites. So for example, a lot of brands are starting to add things like Shop Social as a new tab on their website so that people can start to see what their Instagram posts are, and furthermore, be able to then kind of link it back to the product on their site. It's been one of the most challenging things for brands to do is to really figure out how to harness the power of the Instagram platform. Brands like To Know It have popped up, trying to harness bloggers and connecting them to products. But at the end of the day, you're going to want someone to buy. So how do you build your brand and get them to shop? We'll start to integrate your Instagram onto your e-commerce platform as well as continuously feeding that online. I really wish I knew how to let go of things. I feel like now, as I'm older, the idea of mastering something and moving on and letting it go is so important. And we're always taught so early on that we need to focus and be in charge of one thing and master something really, really well. And that's the thing we're going to be. But it's a lie, right? In this moment, we're changing. Our whole lives were changing. I have no idea who I'm going to be in 20 years. And so the sooner I got used to that idea, the better my life was. The better I was able to perform at work because my ideas were no longer static. I wasn't just fighting for one idea or one project. But in actuality, the soonest I let it go, I was able to accept and get more things into my life. Develop your brand first. Oftentimes, brands start up, they're spending money on developing their site, they're spending money on developing their product if they're making their own products, but they have no idea of the brand that they want to start, and they have no idea what their legacy is going to be. So very often you'll see people who start brands and they'll create a collection or have an idea of what they want something to look like, but that idea is very stagnant. It's just for the season. And you cannot build a brand around one season. You cannot build it around one feature. You cannot build around one benefit. You need to build your brand over a long-term vision of what it is you actually want to create. In 5 to 10 years, I hope I'm still fabulous. That I'd have to say is my #1 goal. Eventually, I'd like to see myself as the crazy neighbor lady who has fabulous clothes and walks around with a couple cats or maybe dogs. But on a more realistic sense, I'd say that in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll probably still be doing variations of what I'm doing now. I'm one of those few but very lucky people who gets to go to work every day knowing that through giving back, through working with my clients and through working on their projects and helping them succeed and see their visions come to fruition, that it's a very regenerative process, right? So if something's regenerative and you're always growing and you're always learning, why would I want to do anything else? This is actually a really good question. I really love to shop on sites that I randomly discover through Instagram. And I do so, well, mostly because I need to know what people are doing. So I'm kind of the wrong person to be asking that question to. But really because I'm all about what people are doing who are new, who I don't know about, right? I want to shop brands that I've never seen before. And oftentimes, I'll buy a product, and if I love it, I'll buy more. I'm not one of those, once a shopper and never again. I really like to build relationships with the brands that I purchase from and the ones that I see are doing it right. So I like to do little hashtag searches. So, oftentimes people will do searches on, women's blouse or silk chiffon or blogger style or different kinds of hashtags. And to be honest, what I'll do, and this is kind of funny, because I actually hate the idea of copying and pasting these links and URLs from Instagram, so I'll just take a lot of screenshots with my phone of the different bloggers or of the different websites that I want to check out later. I bought an amazing yoga mat from this small company based in Southern California called La Vie Bohème. And they're so beautiful. And I think they cost way more than any regular yoga mat, but they're just designed so beautifully. And mine was like 80 something bucks, but it's so beautiful. And every time I hit the mat, I look good on my yoga mat. So that's an amazing purchase. Actually, the other two things that I bought online were from Etsy. And sometimes when I can't find what I'm looking for on Google, or when I'm doing these searches, I'll oftentimes go on Etsy and see if there's someone else who's doing it across the country.